entire set of experiments. Hence, what do? I'm going to perform a subset of experiments. For example, if I say it is half factorial, let me go to the previous slide. If I say it is half factorial, that means I'm going to run only half the number of experiments as in full factorial. If I say 1/4 fractional factorial design, then I'm going to run only 1/4 of the number of experiments as in full factorial. So fractional factorial is nothing but reducing the number of experiments that are run, but still trying to get some meaningful information. There are few terms which we should be well versed when it comes to fractional factorial design. Confounding. In fractional design, some of the effects are confounded with each other. That is, all the effects cannot be estimated separately. For example, if factor A is confounded with three-way interaction BCD, then the estimated effect for A also includes any effect due to BCD interaction. So you will not conduct experiments for A separately, B separately, C separately, D separately, right? Instead, you are going to confound A with B, C, D. Confound is nothing but combining, right? And you look into the combined effect. Anush, can you mute yourself? Thank you. So effects that are confounded are said to be aliased, because you're not performing experiments separately for A, separately for B, for C and D separately. Instead, we are combining this three-way interaction. Three-way means three terms, right, with A. And then you're performing the experiment. It is the ability to determine which main effect or interaction that is causing the effect. So it is the inability to determine which main effect. So if we confound A with B, C, D, we cannot say exactly that C is causing the effect or D is causing the effect or only B is causing the effect. It's A along with BCD combined together causing some effect. But you cannot narrow down on whether B is causing or whether A is causing the effect or C is causing or D is causing the effect. The alias structure describes the confounding that occurs in the design. That is all about confounding. And what is folding? Estimate main effects or interactions free of particular confounding patterns by adding sequential fractional experiment to an existing fractional experiment. Now, let us discuss that further. Okay. Folding. You're estimating the main effect or interaction effect which is free of particular confounding pattern. This is confounding. I have confounded A with BCD, three-way interaction. To this, what you do, you try to add some kind of a sequence. For instance, you'll say A with BCD, then you'll say A with CBD, then you'll do A with DBC, then you'll do A with DCB, so on and so forth. By doing this, you'll come to know which is the main effect, which is causing some kind of a difference in the output. Remember, we are doing this experiment with the inputs. We are frequently changing the inputs, right? For example, garment example, if we can take that, number of workers that we have, number of days that they work. You try to change that order. You will say today person A will work he's going to work for 1 full week. Next week you'll say that instead of person A, I'll put it in a rotating shift. Person B is going to work for 1 full week. When I say full week, everyone will work for 5 days in a week, but one person will continue to work on Saturday and Sunday also. So you'll ask person B to come and work. Then you'll ask person C. Then you'll ask person D. Right? In this way, you try to put some kind of a sequence in your experiments. Then fractional factorial is done generally at initial stages of process improvement. The factors having larger impact is not known to us. More number of factors are taken for experimentation to screen for critical few. Suppose you have y is equal to f of x, and in this x you have various inputs. You have x1 as one input, x2 as another input, x3 as third input, so on and so forth. You have say 100 inputs. Out of these 100, which factor is going to have larger impact? This you cannot know. You actually do not know that. Right? So you use all these factors in order to come up with the critical few. Maybe after experiment, you'll come to know that x1, x3, and maybe x10 Hey Anuj, are you able to hear me? Yeah, perfect. So out of these many x's that we have, if you run fractional factorial design, you'll come to know what are those inputs which are having maximum impact on the output. For instance, maybe you'll come up with an output which will say x1, x2, x10. These are the three critical factors which are going to impact your output. There are a number of inputs which are going to impact your sales in your garment shop. But you might probably say that quality of the garments, variety of the garments, and what are the working hours. These are going to impact your sales, maybe. So you'll come up with those kind of insights once you perform your fractional factorial design. Then fractional factorial designs are named as follows. This is 2 to the power actually, right? 2 to the power k minus 1 design is a half fraction factorial design. 2 to the power k minus 2 is quarter. Quarter means 1 by 4. 2 to the power k minus 3 is 1 by 8. So on and so forth. Creating fractional factorial designs. If we have 4 factors, then for a full factorial design, we would require 16 tests. Why is that? Why is it 16? Because it is 2 raised to the power 4. For a half fractional factorial design, instead of 16, you'll have 8. An equivalent full factorial design for 8 tests can only account for 8 factors. How would it look like? 2 raised to the power 8 would be the number of tests you will have to perform if it is full factorial design. And it can account for only 8 factors actually. 8 factors means A is one factor, B is another factor, C is another factor, D is another factor, so on and so forth. How do we evaluate 4 factors with only 8 tests? That is a question, right? Look at this. If we have 4 factors, a full factorial design conducts 16 tests. But in fractional factorial design or half fractional factorial design, you are only conducting 8 tests for 4 factors. Here it is 16 tests for 8 factors. How can we conduct only 8 tests in fractional factorial and still make sense out of it? We use the fact that higher order terms are usually not significant. When I say higher order terms, that means we believe that the effect of ABC is going to be 0, and we would replace this column with a factor called D. Now we will just term D as ABC. This implies that when I say AD, I'm telling which is equal to nothing but BC. When I'm telling A is equal to BCD. In this way, you try to confound. This is called as confounding effect. And this is also called as resolution 4 design. This resolution designs and all we have learnt in the earlier classes actually. The first order factors are confounded with third order factors. What is a third order factor? BCD, ABD, ACD. If you have 3 terms, if you are combining all those 3 terms together, it is called as third order factor. First order factor is combined or confounded with third order factor means A is confounded with BCD or B or C is confounded with ABD. I'm combining first order with the other order. If you see here, we will not be able to distinguish between A and BCD because A is nothing but BCD. A is equal to BCD. Or between AD and BC, you will not be able to distinguish anything. They look alike. In short, in fractional factorial design, instead of performing the full test, all the tests, what I do is I perform only limited number of tests. With limited number of tests, I get the desired result that is required. Let us do this in Minitab once. There's one exercise that we have to perform. Let me open that. Didn't I share Anush PDF for improvers? I believe I've shared. No? If no, then I'll share it. Let me do it right away while I open it. Okay. Alright. So we need to go to Start, Design of Experiment, Factorial, create factorial design. How many factors do we have? If you look at this Minitab example, we have yield. Yield is similar to your productivity. How productive are your people? In a day, how many garments are they selling? That is yield, right? Productivity basically. This yield is dependent on three factors, that is temperature, concentration and pressure. So there are three factors, right? Temperature, concentration, pressure. Y is equal to f of x. Y is your yield. X is temperature. X2 is concentration. X3 is pressure. So there are three factors. Let me select the three factors. Yeah. That is what is selected here. Specify the number of factors you have selected for the study. Then you click on Designs. And you select what factorial do you want to run. Do you want to run a half fractional factorial or full factorial design? That you need to design. This is a resolution 3 design, implying that the main factors are aliased with second order factor. What are the main factors? Temperature is one main factor, concentration is another main factor, pressure is the third main factor. If you're going to confound it with second order factors, that means temperature along with concentration is one confounded factor. Concentration with pressure is another confounded factor. Pressure with temperature is another combined factor, interaction factor basically. So that is called as two-way interaction effect. Yep. So let me move to the next slide. Now we have selected three number of factors that are required. We know that this is resolution 3 design, implying that the main factor are aliased with the second order factor. Now what we have to do is we have to select the factors. What is factor A? Is temperature. Which is numeric value, -1 or +1, right? -1 is low, +1 is high. Then we have concentration. Concentration is also numeric, -1 and +1. -1 is low, +1 is high. Then we have pressure. Pressure is also numeric, -1 is low, +1 is high. It's given 1 -1 anyways. So this part is also done. Now let us see whether we want to randomize the runs. Yes, we want to randomize the runs. Do not fold it. One second, let me maximize this. You can put some number if at all you want. Yeah. So let me see if at all there is anything else that we need to do. No, we are done. Okay. We have created the design now. We've just created the design. Now go to Start, Design of Experiment, Factorial, analyze the factorial design. Start, Design of Experiment, Factorial. First step is you create the design Then you analyze the design. That is how you do it. Okay, I think we have got to the wrong step. Let me go here. Start. Design of experiments. Factorial. Analyze factorial design. Yield is a factor. Oh, 1 second, Anush. Yeah, so, okay. Yes, so yield is a response variable. So I've done that here. Let me show you. Yield. So first step is in a design, you actually create a design of experiment. What kind of experiment you want to perform. Then now we are analyzing that particular design. We are analyzing factorial design. Oh, am I defining here? No. Analyze, start, DOE, factorial, analyze. Okay, let me go to the next worksheet. I think it's asking me to go here. Here, actually, yield is missing. So let me see where it went missing. Create factorial design, 3 level. These are the various resolutions that we have. We are running a half factorial design, with number of blocks 1. I want to run everything as 1 block. Number of replicate for corner point is 1, center point is 0. Temperature, concentration, pressure, all the 3 factors are provided. I'm randomizing the run. This is also fine. Okay, I'm not folding it. All right. Okay, you go to start, design of experiments, factorial, analyze factorial design. Oh, I'm surprised that our response variable yield is not coming up, so I'm not sure what I'm missing here. Just give me a minute. What am I missing? The half factorial yield is there anyways. So we need to separately consider yield, or just a minute. Okay, got it. So yield values we have to separately enter here. Let me copy the yield values. Let me put in the design that we have already created. Okay, now I think it's going to work. Start, design of experiments, factorial, analyze the design. Yeah, here comes the yield. So this is one part. So I've entered the yield. Enter the values of the yield as shown here. Okay, then here is the output once we do that. So this is the result which anyways I've copied here. So let us discuss this. what did we do? There is fractional factorial design. All the details are given. We are using resolution 3. Resolution 3 means what? I'm combining the main effect with the interaction effect, which is of second order. Two-way interaction. Some main effects are confounded with two-way interaction. So A with BC, or B with AC, or C with AB. This is called as combining the main effect with the interaction effect. If you see A plus BC, that means your temperature, A is temperature here, A is aliased with concentration and pressure, BC. B is concentration, C is pressure. So that is how we are combining. And what is the rule used to create the design? C is equal to BC. That is a design generator. The pressure is equal to temperature multiplied by concentration. You're just giving such rules. Okay. And this is another output. How do you calculate what is the yield? Yield half. Why am I putting half? Because we are running half factorial design. So if I just sum up these coefficients, I'll get the yield half, which is nothing but 31. And if I want the output equation, regression equation, this is the equation. Now if I want to find out the yield the next time if I know the temperature, concentration and pressure, I can straight away predict the yield and tell to the senior management that because your yield or productivity will be so much given the temperature, concentration and pressure. Then it's always recommended that we randomize the blocks. And let us also discuss about the Latin square here. For a randomized block, there is one factor or variable of interest and several nuisance factors. Nuisance factors means factors which are really not important. For example, your garment shop. How many people are working will make sense. What food are they eating? Right? What are their sleeping habits? These are all nuisance factors. We do not require to get into those details, right? Nuisance factors may affect the output, but are not our primary interest. For example, suppose they had lot of rice or some kind of biryani or some kind of heavy food in lunch. What will happen? Obviously, they tend to sleep or they'll be in that dizzy mood, right? That is going to impact your output. That is, your sales will be impacted. Your profits might be impacted, but that is not of our primary interest, right? That is called as a nuisance factor. We want to make sure that the nuisance factor don't influence our analysis. Hence, we are going to randomize. For all controllable nuisance factors, we want to block their impact and randomize when we cannot control the nuisance factors. Right? Controllable nuisance factors. That means there will be nuisance factors. Few of them would be under your control. AC, for example. If it's very warm, people tend to sleep. Right? So probably AC temperature is playing a influence on your sales or productivity. Probably you'll try to control that nuisance factor. And also you'll try to randomize it. That means you'll try to increase it to 25 degrees, then 28 degrees, then 30 degrees, then probably 20 degrees. You'll see what is the effect of that. Suppose you are running the experiment in 2 blocks. Block means what? Group of experiments which are run together. Suppose there are 2 blocks. Block 1, I am going to run the experiment with a temperature of 20 degrees. And block 2, I am going to run the experiment with a temperature of 24 degrees centigrade. But the temperature will be fixed for all of these runs within block 1. It will be 20 degrees. Within block 2, temperature will be fixed at 24 degrees. One second. Yep. So nuisance factor is blocked by keeping the nuisance factor fixed within each block and allowing the primary factors to vary within each block. Primary factors or the main factors are the same. A is one primary factor, B is another primary factor, C is another primary factor, right? Another way to look at a randomized block is as a collection of completely randomized experiments, each run within the block. Right, randomized block means if I have a set of experiments that I wish to run collectively, then I'm going to randomize even within this. It won't be in a sequence. It won't be like this. First run A, then B, then C, then run the experiment for AB, then BC, then CA. It won't be in such a structured format. Probably first I'll run CA, then I'll run A, right? Then I'm going to run C, then I'm going to run AB, then I'm going to run B, then BC. So what am I doing? I'm randomizing. I'm not putting it in a sequence or an order. I'm randomizing it. Sorry. All right. Then comes the implementation plan. Once you have an optimum solution at your hand, always pilot the solution before deploying on a large scale. This is a thumb rule. If suppose you have 5 branches of your garment, if you have a solution, implement it in one center, one branch of your garment shop. See what is the output of that. Select your objective. Probably you want to increase your sales by 10%. And that is your objective. You ensure that whatever training is required, you are providing the training to your staff members. And once you implement in one branch, you'll come to know whether the solution is working or not, or whether you want to make few smaller changes or not. Then you check all that and then you try to implement it in the other centers of your garment. If you have 5 centers, in one center you pilot the solution, you experiment the solution, you try to make changes if required, then if it is a success, you implement in the other 4 branches. You observe and modify solution as more information is gathered. As in how you get more information, you see whether my solution should be modified or not. You also use simulations to evaluate solution if possible. What do you mean by simulation? Suppose I'm into farming. Just an example. Suppose I'm into farming and I'm into grape farming. For one output of farm, I need to wait for 6 months. Normally it takes 6 months for one grape farm to mature and come out in the market. And this particular farmer comes to me and says that, sir, invest 1 crore rupees, you are going to get 2 crore rupees in grape farming. You don't want to blindly invest. You'll ask him, show me your data for the past 10 years. Only then I'm going to believe you. He will say that for the past 10 years, I do not have the data. I have the data only for 1 year. Then how can you be confident by looking into just 1 year data and invest 1 crore rupees just because farmer is telling you'll get 2 crores? So what this farmer can do is he can do some kind of simulation. Simulation means he will do the grape farming virtually as if he's doing in the real time. He'll do it virtually. And he's going to experiment probably 10 times, 20 times, 100 times, 1000 times also, or 10,000 times. It depends, right? If he does so many farmings, suppose he's selecting this simulation as 100, that means virtually he's farming, he's doing grape farming for the next 100 years, right? Or for the next 50 years, he's doing that. And all the outputs are gathered. Now he's going to bring that output to you and he'll say that, sir, if in real time I spend the next 50 years doing grape farming alone, this would be the potential output. Then you look into that simulated data and then you take a call whether you have to invest 1 crore or not. Same thing holds good for your missiles, right? Rocket launching, anything. They cannot, every time come up with one rocket, try to test it, whether it's going beyond the orbit or not. And then if it fails, they come up with a new rocket. That is not possible. Launching a rocket, right? Launching a satellite itself is a tremendous job. It involves millions and billions of dollars, right? With those millions and billions of dollars, you cannot test, you cannot experiment. Hence, what you do is you try to simulate. What if I open 10 branches of garments? What could the possible revenue be? What if I, probably set up XLR office in Australia or in US or in UK? What could the possible profits be? If today, even before launching, if you want to know what your potential profits could be, then I can probably simulate and see. Just to give some amount of confidence to me, I can simulate and say, yes, this would be the profit if we open a new branch in Australia, maybe. So that is simulation all about. Right? Statistics, the statistics that you have just learned in green and black belt, if you couple it with simulation, then job will be very good. All right. Next thing is create an implementation plan. Suppose you have piloted the solution and you have felt that solution was excellent. It worked wonders. Then you try to implement it in full scale. That is when you come up with the implementation plan. What action each person should take? When should they take? And what is the status of the item? Is it open, close, or is it ongoing? You're going to review the plan and follow up to ensure successful implementation is performed. Use a project plan instead of implementation plan for complex initiatives. For example, I've come up with a solution for Airbus. Airbus is airline industry, right? This is a big player. Boeing, Airbus, these are all the big players in aircraft or airline industry. So probably if you implement some solution for this kind of big giants, that is when probably you'll go with a project plan instead of going with a simple implementation plan. Because it'll be very complex, making changes to aircraft manufacturing, missile manufacturing, nuclear plant, all these would be very tedious, very demanding. Hence you come up with a project plan altogether. Then what do? You present your recommendations to the audience. Once you have optimum solution in place, once you have piloted it, you call all the audience and you present your recommendations to them. You try to understand what is it, is this what the audience want, and is this what stakeholders feel is the right solution? You have to anticipate questions always. Once you get questions, put them in a parking lot. Parking lot means on a piece of board, just write down their action items. That's it. Whatever points they are discussing, just write down on it. Open well means you set the right expectations. Share the burning platform. Say that, or don't say you have a problem and I have provided a solution. Say we have a problem. We together have a problem. We together should solve it. And this is the solution that we think. Always use the term we so that you share the platform. If the moment you use the word you, that means you're telling that you have a problem. The opposition has a problem. If you say we have a problem, that means you're sharing that particular problem. Use facts and data. Do not speak on the fly. Always have your data ready whenever you speak about any improvement. Personalize presentations, stories, or show conviction. That means, suppose there is an issue related to the garment shop, sales are dipping. Whenever you're presenting, try to bring about a story which is related to the garment shop. And suppose you're presenting this to, suppose you're doing some improvement in the HR department, some productivity improvement in HR department, or in finance department, or in logistics department. Personalize the presentation to only logistics department, or only finance department, or only HR department. Personalize it. These are all the soft skills that one should possess as Six Sigma Black Belt. Remember that different people learn differently. Few people auditory. Auditory means you audit, yeah, you audit and then they are going to learn. Few people you need to speak out, you need to show the practicals, then they'll learn. Few people you will have to visualize. You'll have to show some visual displays and how the model is working. Probably a video will work wonders here. Use a structured presentation approach in the form of define. This is the problem that I've defined. Measure. This is the current performance. Analyze. These are the various outputs I believe are going to impact your output. Improve. I have tried to improve your inputs. And then we are together trying to control the improvement that we have brought in. Make recommendations including resource requirements. That means your recommendations should not necessarily speak only about the process streamlining. You can also speak about resource requirements. Probably you'll say that you require one process consultant full-time on your project who is going to audit this. Or you require two softwares which is going to speed up your job. So you even include those kind of resource requirements. Ask for approvals. Do not blindly assume that the solution that you have spoken is well taken by all the audience. Ask them for approval. Is it okay? Are you guys with me with the solution? Can we implement? Things like that. You thank your participants and then you publish the minutes of meeting. Actually, I think this is a last slide. So we'll just complete this and close. What is a summary of improve phase? List all the possible solutions and select the best solution. You try to optimize the solution. Don't just say that this is the best solution that we have. Try to optimize that best solution. Try to minimize the risks of the solution. If you implement the solution, there will be risks. No doubt about that. But try to minimize those risks. Pilot the solution and modify as appropriate. Right? When I say pilot, do it in a small scale. If at all any modification is required, probably you can modify it. Refine any financial benefits estimates. Probably in the starting phases, you have told that I'm going to save $1 million, but as in how you progress, now you feel that 1 million is slightly not possible. Probably you'll try to save 800K. Maybe. Yep. So we are done with the improve phase. I'll stop here, Anuj. If you have any doubts, let